My name is T. Shaw, and this is Brewin Black Podcast, where the contents we serve you is authentic, vulnerable, and relatable. That means we serve you with no cream and no sugar.
I guess I like my coffee black.
Yo, 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 this is Scholar P, pronouns he, him, his.
And it's your boy T. Shaw, pronouns he, him, his.
And this is Brewin Black giving you all the latest in Black news and entertainment for our intellectuals, our millennials, and those who like their information like we like our news. Black. How you feeling, T?
Bro, I'm feeling good. I got to shout out to my best friend, Elder, for hooking me up with this beautiful mic stand. I feel like there are people invested in our future, the future of Brewin Black. And yeah, man, I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful to have people behind us and just having great friends. Like shout out to Scholar P too, because they were in cahoots. But yeah, man, it just feels good. It feels good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Yeah. First of all, that was so fun. I love tricking people for surprises. Like, I've had to do that a few times within the past couple of weeks, and I'm good at it. I appreciate that, and it is for the joy in people's faces. I'm actually right here in North Carolina. Shout out to the 336. Yeah. I was able to surprise my mom and my brother. And shout out to the Duke University Sigmas. Hey, Kai, you know what it is. We're going to be going up tomorrow. It's going to be a really, really fun weekend, and I'm just excited to be back on my stomping grounds in more ways than one. So yeah, it's amazing, bro. Tell them what land we're on right now.
Absolutely. So I'm not too sure where you're at. I don't know if you did that research. I wish I would have thought of that earlier, but I'm in LA. So I'm gonna let y'all know that I'm on the land of the Gabrielino and the Tongva. This is stolen land. This is colonized land. And we will always, always, always pay those respects.
Absolutely. So I know that for a lot of it, I think my area of North Carolina is actually like Cherokee lands.
Okay.
And so and I think High Point is Cherokee lands as well. So I definitely want to shout out the Cherokee peoples where I am. So yeah, man, we got a lot of great stuff to get into today. We want to start off by really giving our condolences to Colin Powell.
Yeah.
He's actually one of our espresso shots. And espresso shots are basically when we just give you quick updates about what's going on in the world. An amazing attorney general. Was he the first Black attorney general, I believe?
I believe so. I believe so.
Yeah, so we just want to say shout out to him. Trump tried to in Trump fashion tried to throw dirt on his name, but we just want to say that we salute you. Your legacy is defined, it is solidified, and it can't be broken down.
Absolutely. And I think my respect for Colin Powell, though I don't really believe conservative values, I think that there is a nature um to I guess that type of Republican Party. I think that Republican Party was much different than the Republican Party that we see today. Though they may hold some of those similar values, like I think of Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell, that Republican Party wasn't built solely around hate. I think that their ideologies around like actual conservatism and like maintaining wealth and things were very similar. But I think that the Republican Party today is so much different with what's that ugly dude in the House? What's his name? Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
I think that he belongs to a different faction than they did. So I think that like even him coming out and supporting Obama, right? I think that those things like that lets me know that that gave me like I guess hope in what politics can be, where it's not a purely like a party divide where you can I guess reach across the other side, but also understand that other values and uh grow and develop and I don't know, practice what you preach essentially.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah. I mean, he's not every stereotype around the
Mhm.
Republicans and conservatives. So and for him to even step out and support Obama is big. So shout out to Colin Powell. Next, we got on the list of our special shots. Howard University has some substandard living conditions going on, and people are upset. You understand me? People are upset. T, what do you think about this?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. It's a trip, bro. Like, I think one of the things when talking to my students, like, and sharing with them what like HBCUs are and them getting excited, I brought up a video. I don't exactly know who it was created by. I think it was HA Plus, but they were describing how student loan debt really impacts the Black community much more than any other community, and it's directly tied to HBCUs. So many of us want to go to HBCUs to feel community, to feel like we belong, to pursue a higher education and stomp the yard and do all the nines, right? And understanding that Howard, their tuition is around like $50,000, bro. Like, Howard is supposed to be like the Mecca, right? But on campus right now, and their on campus housing, they have rats and roaches and mold, bro. They have roofs collapsing. They have air filters that have never been changed. So there's a lot going on right now, and the students actually have a list of demands. So some of their demands are that Howard, they're demanding to meet with like their chancellor, so like the administration, whoever their president is, and have an in-person town hall to express their grievances, and they want that by the end of October. They want to reinstate this like kind of board, or they want to have a position on the board. They want to reinstate the position where there's a trustee on the board of trustees that actually look like them, that represent them and represent what they believe. Because oftentimes it's people that don't really look like us, and that doesn't even have to be like race, right? We're talking about like age, we're talking about like social economic status, people that will have our best interests in mind. And they had a few other demands, but more than anything, it's a housing crisis. And knowing how much rent is going up across the country, they understand that, like, I mean, no one should be living in a place where it has mold and students are coughing up blood. Um, but especially if you're paying $50,000 to attend a university, and you're probably going into debt for that. So I think that that's one of the bigger things.
Absolutely, and to your point, Black students look at HBCUs as a safe haven that is, for some of us, the only time we'll ever be affirmed in our Blackness to that
Right.
extent, right? And so I think that when you talk about a cost of tuition, there especially, Howard's one of the most prominent HBCUs in the land, and so
Mhm.
it's just very unfortunate that you pay for that experience, and this is not protecting Black students. This is not making Black students feel safe. It's making Black students feel not worthy. It's like being in a school with torn up textbooks with all types of writings on the wall, and the buildings are falling apart, and it's just like we trust Howard more than that. And
Mhm.
I'm sure like a lot of things, it's probably connected to white supremacy and whatnot. But once again, we have to see these things and be proactive about these things so that we don't ostracize the students that we're trying to uphold and protect. Because I think when it comes to like the image of Black spaces and places that are built and have a legacy of affirming us, this is just not a good look for the community at all.
Yeah, bro.
So
And I want to say, like, they were calling the police on students, and Howard came out and said that they respect peaceful protest, but they were simply doing a sit-in and taking over. I think the building was called Blackburn. They
mm,
took over the building, but they called police, and they were getting some of the students like arrested and pulled out of the building. They were blocking, like, because people were donating like pizzas and waters and different things so to sustain the sit-in, and the police was blocking that. So it's just kind of thinking about the different ways we still continue to harm each other. I also saw this tweet, and it really made me think. And I'm gonna break it down. So it says HBCUs are one of the greatest exemplars of pseudo independence under the domain and hegemony of white capital. One of the many white institutions, one of many white institutions meticulously branded in blackface that structurally exploits and neglects its black students while serving white power. So, like, let me code switch that and translate it a little bit. So, essentially, they're saying that HBCUs are just on surface black. So that's what they mean
Interesting.
by it's a white institution branded in blackface. I know a lot of people that went to HBCUs that love their experience, but I think something that we see from uh like these HBCUs is that they're often funded by white money and that they have, yeah, maybe black administration, but they aren't serving their black students. And I think that that's what they're getting at, is that that's when they say hegemony of white capital, that's truly what they mean, that there's white man money kind of, or white people money per se, funding these ventures, and it's continuing to exploit our students. When we think about how much people are coming out of pocket to come to these institutions just to feel safe, just to feel a part of community, and then you're continuing to neglect them, I think that those are some things that we think of that happen in not spaces that's governed by us, right? So I think that that's what they're saying. Like, on the surface, it's black, it's blackety black, it's our culture, but internally, like, it's still serving white supremacy in these ways where it's exploiting us as students, as workers, and as just general community.
Right, right, absolutely, absolutely. So, I think we definitely got to keep an eye out on that, and it's just a call for HBCUs everywhere, not just Howard, to make sure you're taking the proper steps, to be a safe haven for these Black students, because once again, like we said before, like, it's connected to whiteness and white power and white supremacy. I'm sure this issue is in some way, shape, or form, but we're diligent enough and smart enough as Black people to recognize that, and even if you have the situation, don't make things even harder for students who are saying that something's wrong. Don't
Big.
punish the students for unveiling this atrocity, and trying to hold these Black spaces accountable. Right.
Mhm.
So yeah. So we say shout out to the Howard University students. We're with you. We support you, and we hope that situation gets better as time goes along and not worse.
Solidarity, y'all.
Absolutely. So with that being said, speaking about solidarity, a lot of people have found some solidarity or lack thereof, as it relates to Dave Chappelle's comedy special, The Closer. Now, I think we had made reference to this last week, but for those of you who are just tuning in, there were talks about Netflix employees walking out or staging a walkout, especially over some of the comments about the trans community that Dave made in a special. And so, T, what do you think about this? Do you feel like it's justified? Do you feel like it's going overboard? Do you feel like there's a middle ground here? And like, how do you feel like Netflix is going to respond?
Yeah, bro. I think if anyone really looks at the demands from the trans and non-binary activists and allies that are walking out, I think it would be hard to say that it is ridiculous or not justified. I think it's even crazier that there are counter protesters, bro. Like, there were people outside, or there were people right adjacent to, like, the protesters holding signs that say jokes are funny. Like, how much time do you have in your day to go protest a protest in defense of Dave Chappelle? Like, I can understand you feeling that way possibly, but to how strong do you have to feel to go out there to be like, "Oh, you're killing comedy. Jokes are funny. You guys need to go somewhere." Like, nah, bro. But let me shine the light on these activists that are protesting and walking out. I just want to highlight a few of their demands, and I want our brewers to let us know if it is justified, right? Like, this, I think that these make sense to me. So one of the demands were content investment. That was a theme of it, and they wanted Netflix to create a fund to specifically develop trans and non-binary talent and programming. I think that's fair.
Right.
They asked Netflix to hire trans and non-binary content executives, especially Black and people of color, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and not only content executives but higher ups. Like I forgot exactly executives, nonetheless. They also asked to for Dave Chappelle and other transphobic imagery around the office, whether that be like swag, like paraphernalia, or just like banners and things around the office and murals. They asked for that to be taken down. They asked for a disclaimer before the closer, as well as other things that they might deem transphobic, homophobic, or misogyny or hate speech. They just asked for a disclaimer to be added to these different titles. And then they also asked for when we are putting those disclaimers on these things, that to suggest that Netflix, their algorithm, for it to suggest trans affirming content alongside the content that was flagged as anti-trans. And I think that that is so beautiful. And when I think about like abolish democracy, it's a twofold thing. It's like, okay, we need to call out what is anti, like, but we also need to put something in its place. So it's like, okay, not only are we labeling this like not good, but let's show you what is good. And like hopefully someone will choose that and would love to like understand uh the trans identity a little bit more, because I think that people could walk away from the closer and not really understand it, right? And it caused a lot of hoopla and a lot of drama in these protests. But for them to get a better understanding and get a positive understanding of trans identity, I think that's super important.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And I think a really cool piece of some of those things is, like you just said, the affirming piece, because I had never even thought, like, with my particular blinders, like, about, having trans affirming content that's like very explicit and saying that and mentioning that on Netflix, right? Like, I know that Netflix suggests a lot of things to me as a Black person, and it's like, even if they don't say it, it's like it's obvious that this is, I'm getting these shows and these comedies and these movie suggestions because of my Blackness. But I think they might even say it explicitly sometimes, like, here, like, this is black romance comedies, or like urban comedies and stuff like that. So I think that it's very good in that sense. And then I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about the not having Dave Chappelle stuff or promo around the office and stuff like that. And I'm just like, okay, well, Dave Chappelle, he is problematic. But to what length do we like say, oh, we're gonna erase him from the office? But then I
Mm,
started thinking, well, like, maybe it's not the exact same thing, but it is maybe similar. Like, how would I like, a Confederate hero,
yeah.
sort of being all around the office because he has like a war movie out. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And like, how would it feel for me to have to sit with that every day while people are counter protesting, while people are
Mhm.
online, going full in. And so I like a lot of these, suggestions, and like, they don't, even from a more radical perspective, they don't even seem like too big of an ass. It seems like a step
Yeah.
one.
Absolutely. It definitely seems like they're working with Netflix, right? Because Netflix said we're not pulling the special. So I don't even, when I looked through the demands, I didn't even see them re-ask for that. I think they came back to the table like, okay, well, since you're not gonna do this, how about these things? And I, just like you said, I think that those are very reasonable. And I really like the comparison, the analogy to like the Confederate and like the war hero, right? Because somebody might want to see that, and it might be hard for us to really block that movie from happening, right? But I do think it would be very possible to be like, hey, look, that makes me uncomfortable, and I deserve to feel comfortable in my workplace.
Right.
And I think it's a very neutral thing to say, like, let's not have it in the workplace. Let's make sure that everybody's comfortable, and we can have things that we either mutually agree on or nothing on the walls, right? And I think that, like, who would say no to that? I think that you would, it's like choosing not to call someone their pronouns, right? You're actively choosing violence. And I think that that puts somebody in a position to really expose who they really are. So I think that Netflix has to come to the table and agree to most or all of these demands. And let's just say all of them.
Right, absolutely, yeah. And it's funny that you say that you're talking about that, because it reminds me of I was just telling you about this pre-show. Like, I literally left the academic space this week because someone in there made me uncomfortable, not necessarily because of what they had done to me, but what they had done to other people allegedly.
Mhm.
And I think that it was just one of those moments where it's like, I'm not doing this. I can't like bump this. I left, and so I think even, we sometimes we think our experiences are so much different from other people, and it's just like, not just like look at the world through that lens and then apply their discomfort to like what makes you uncomfortable in your own world and space. And so I think that
Yeah.
I think people got to sort of go down to that level. When's the last time you were uncomfortable in the workspace, and like, did you have the power to advocate for yourself or to step away from it? And if so, then you should be able to appreciate what these employees are asking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Yes. Shout out to those workers at Netflix. We hope that Netflix works with you all and meets those demands accordingly. All right. But speaking about, working with people and, being a community, some people have failed greatly at that. We talk about this media stuff, but some people take the media stuff too far and forget that we are in the real world. And so that definitely happened, and we're going to get into it for this week's light roast. And basically what that is when we criticize someone or something in society, and we try to show constructive feedback and love sometimes, but not all of y'all deserve it. And this week I can't say they deserve it, T. Because there was a man in Philadelphia who literally filmed a sexual assault happening instead of intervening.
Mhm.
And he was, and the horrible part was, he might have been the only one recording, but he wasn't the only one who was around, who could have intervened, who could have
Mhm.
yelled, who could have done something to stop this experience. T, tell me what it means for us to be in a world where people feel so comfortable in their boldness that they can do that, and the fact that like no one really did anything until much too late.
Yeah, bro. I think it's disappointing, it's frustrating, and it more than anything, it challenges how I feel about people, right? And how I feel about society and the good nature I really believe that people have. Because if you're sitting on a train, we're talking about a train car, bro. It can't be that big. Maybe what, 20 feet? Like it's not that much space. Like, so, and we're sitting here, and for more than 40 minutes, this woman is being harassed by a stranger on public transportation and raped while people were just standing by. Just like you said, someone's recording it. Other people were just kind of like standing idly by. And like the first thing I thought of was the bystander effect. And I know that it hasn't been proven or disproven particularly, but it's a theory. And it's a theory that states that individuals are less likely to offer help to a victim when there are other people present. And I think that that is so unhuman. I think that that is like antithetical of like who we really should be and who we should be aspiring to like grow to, bro. Like that would be my village or like my I said village, my villain origin story. Like, how could people just sit around and do nothing? I can't fathom that. But I understand it too, because I think one of, and this is almost going to another place, and I understand why people don't. But like when people are being brutalized by the police and there are like 30 people around and a bunch of people recording, I still think the same thing. Like, I don't know what I would do, and I think that that's the hardest part, but I don't know if I could truly sit around and just watch someone be beat or brutalized by myself. And I think that like it would be putting my body on the line, but I think I've seen it so much that I would be compelled to intervene. But most people aren't. Most people feel like it's they need to mind their own business and just kind of keep going. And it actually reminded me of a moment, and I feel like that moment really defined who I was. It was one Halloween or maybe the day before. I think it was actually Halloween, and it was maybe about 4 or 5 p.m. It wasn't too late, and I had walked to this tattoo shop to get a nose piercing. So my nose is pierced, and that's why I always remember it. We walked to the shop because it was supposed to be like $10, and they weren't taking any more people. So we were walking to another shop, and I feel like that's an act of God. We were walking to another shop, and on the way, we had to cross like this bridge that goes over the freeway, and we're walking, we're talking and laughing and just having a good time. And I see a guy climbing up the like gate. And I'm like, what is he doing? That's kind of weird. And he's climbing up. And you know, the gates that stop people from going over the freeway, like they curve in a weird way. So you
Right.
really have to try to climb over it. And once I saw him throw his like shoulder over the top of it, I was like, oh, he's trying to go over. So I sprinted across the street like a few yards up, and I like was like, "Hey, bro, what you doing? What you doing?" I pulled him down, and I just sat there and started talking to him. And pretty much through the conversation, we sat there and talked for about 15 minutes, and he was just expressing that like no one cares about him, and he couldn't understand why I would stop him because I don't know him. And he just he profiled me.
Wow.
He was a white guy. He was like, you're a Nevada football player. Like, why would you care about me?" And I took it and ran with it. I was like, bro, exactly. I'm a Nevada football player, bro, and I care about you. I need you
Wow.
to care about yourself, bro. Like, I don't even know what I was talking about, bro. I was just like, there's just too much life to live, bro. And I understand being down. Like, here's some money, bro. Like, go downtown, get some food. Like, do you need anything? And he was just like, no, I think I'm good. But I think for like a week straight, I would just check the news to see if like anything happened to him. Essentially, I know he was homeless, so it's people essentially don't care about homeless people. So I might have never heard anything, but I hope that like that helped him in that moment, and that I hope and pray that it changed the trajectory of his life. Because he essentially was just saying that no one cared about him. And I was like, bro, like, I don't even know you, but I care about your life. Like, I think you deserve to live, and like you deserve to be comfortable. And I think that is what's kind of missing. And that's what really makes us like people, and that's what makes us a society, and that's what makes us whole and make it grow and make it grow. And like, if you just like kind of stand by and let people like lose their life or like their lives be impacted negatively, I just can't fathom it. So that was kind of a rant, but like I feel so passionately because everybody really matters. Like that's what it means when like somebody says like Black Lives Matter or somebody lives matter. Like that's what it really looks like, bro.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think it definitely is one of those things where I see I'm sort of maybe on the opposite end of the spectrum. I feel like I don't necessarily have a trust in people in
Mhm.
society as a whole. I think that even from a religious standpoint, I think that, you know, I don't agree with a lot of church ideologies, but I do have a sense of faith of something beyond human beings
Mhm.
because if it's just us, we're all doomed, in my opinion. Now, with that said, I think there are a lot of great human beings on planet Earth, and I think that we do try, we should try. But for me, I've also watched a lot of shows like Law and Order SVU, and so for me, it's very people are very much by standards,
Mhm.
and not even with just sexual assault, with racisms, with all sorts of isms. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember I remember even being in a group of people, and some person was making all these like heterosexist, homophobic remarks, and like I remember sort of at the opposite. I did the opposite of UT. I didn't necessarily step up. I sort of just froze. So I was just like,
Mhm.
what's happening here, right?
Mhm.
But I think that those people who did that, they're gonna have to live with that for the rest of their lives, and that poor woman will have to live with the fact that like everyone saw her being brutalized and like no one did a thing. And
Mhm.
so for me, I just think that we have to take these types of lessons and use them to embolden us in the future to say something, to step up.
Yeah.
Because what I want our audience to remember is that intervening doesn't mean you have to fight the guy. Maybe the guy had a gun or a knife or whatever. And there have been stories about people who've tried to intervene and have gotten teeth knocked out or been violated trying to like defend a woman who is being attacked. But y'all could have screamed, someone could have kicked the man's leg, someone could
Yeah.
have done something, someone could have acted like they fell on him. Like there's so many different ways to intervene. It doesn't have to be you turn around, the big guy around and trying to fight him. And so I think that when we think about this fear around intervening, right? I think that we got to remember there are so many different ways to like make an impact, but you got to do something, right? You gotta make some type of effort. We can relate this to something with much smaller stakes. There have been so many times where like I could have gone and tried to talk with a woman, dance with a woman, done something, but I just sort of sat there and didn't engage at all. And then I see someone else come and do something later, and I'm like, oh man, what could that have been? But on a bigger level, it's like, what's something small that I can do to have a ripple effect? Because even if everyone just starts screaming and like, yo, get off of her, da, 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 like now you got this attention. If 40 people pull out their phone, you're not even if you got a gun, you're not killing 20 people with your gun. You know what I'm saying? And you think that crowd's gonna let you get? And if there is a gun that you have that can kill 20 people, you think you're gonna be able to reach and set that thing up before 20 people intervene? No. But it's like, we got to realize that if one of us is at risk, all of us is at risk.
Absolutely.
If I feel like I can go and do whatever to one person and no one is going to react, then that means I can do that to every person and no one's going to react. And I think that's the biggest issue here.
Yeah, bro. It just feels like a Black Mirror episode. Like, and I think that is the one thing about social media and like the habit that we've gotten into recording things, because they're like, oh, well, we have it on camera and people can do something about it later. But it's like, what do we do now? Like, how can we stop the present harm that's being caused right now? And I think that, like you said, I understand. Like, it takes courage. It takes bravery to kind of step up and intervene in a situation. But I think we're not asking anybody to be a Superman. I'm asking y'all to be the social justice league. Like, I want y'all to, because it was multiple people. They said it was less than a dozen, but more than a handful. So like 6 people can stop one person. Like, that's not Luke Cage. Like, that's not the Punisher. That's not Bane. Like, come on, y'all. Like, y'all got this. And I think that it sucks that a transit employee had to witness it, and he was the one that called 911 when all these other people just were going about their business. So I did see that the police were reviewing the footage and were looking to find some of these bystanders. And the question becomes, should they be punished? And I just real quick before we transition out, I guess I want to hear what you think, Scholar P. Do you think that these people deserve to be punished?
You know what? The funny thing about all of that ends up being that I think about, because they were complicit in that crime. This is not like a bank being robbed. I'm sorry, it's not. Like, you could have done something and you didn't, and I feel like you might as well have been his partner or his lookout. It's like, it's sort of like the guy who like puts something in the drink, and he might not rape the people, but like, you alley-oop the person. They alley-oop the guy. They didn't try to block the shot. They didn't try to guard him. You know what I'm saying? Basketball season is in there. They didn't try to steal the ball beforehand.
No defense.
Right. Because people like there was a buildup too. It's not like he just, to my knowledge, just grabbed the woman. It was like he wasn't stopped when he was doing the harassing. He wasn't probably stopped when he started touching her. He wasn't stopped when he was
clothes. Yeah.
Right. Like, so many things had to happen. And so if I'm the police officer, because I think the thing that when I think about things like racism, I don't think about the extremists. I think about everybody else who was complicit. Like, y'all are more dangerous to me. And just like this train station situation, there are more of y'all. There are more of y'all. There are more of y'all than there are of that extremist or that person who really wants to cause harm. And so, yeah, like, I wouldn't be upset about it, because I think that, I don't know if people think about violence in that way, because I think, T, what you did was so altruistic, and unfortunately I don't think that society thinks about it that way. And so I think making it illegal to be a bystander, I think that might actually push people
Mhm.
towards, especially with something like sexual violence.
Yeah.
So you telling me if there was a kid and a stranger started putting their hands down the kid's pants or something, everyone watches that they shouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I would say go for it. And if not jail time, at least some charges. Y'all watched someone be assaulted and y'all didn't even attempt to call the police, right? Because
Mhm.
if you withhold information or lie on the jury stand or whatever, you can go to jail, or that stuff is illegal. Being a bystander when someone's being assaulted in a public space should also be something. You didn't do nothing. You were right there. And so I'm not mad at it, because I think that people just need that push as a society. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes the unfortunate is what's needed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really like that, bro. I really like that. And it's like I'm never one for like true punishment. I don't know about jail time, but I do think that there should be some new standard created. And I think because it's a judgment of character more than anything. Like you should, it maybe shouldn't be a charge per se, like it shouldn't be a misdemeanor, but it should come up on your record because I think that it does
Mm,
help you understand what this person's character is. And I think that it's definitely grounds to be judged on. So and I think that that's how most people work, just like you said, like people think in punishments, unfortunately. So if they know that this will hurt them, like people do community service to look good on the application to get a job or go to grad school or something like that. So they
bruh.
would avoid instead of like, yeah, just like you said, altruistic, they're just like, oh, like it's like give me a leg up. And I think that that's what capitalism probably does to us. So I think in the meantime, as we're trying to foster better values as a society, I do think that that's a good middle ground because I don't think we need more people in jail. Again,
Touche.
I'm a prison abolitionist, but like I think that that is because I was gonna say absolutely not. Like we need to figure out a way, but I think that you kind of gave me a way to think about how we could influence people. And I think it should be some type of restorative justice. I think whatever this 35-year-old man who was actually the perpetrator, I think he deserves to be punished for his crimes in some way, shape, or form. He needs help because that you have to be a sick individual to do that. But also, I think that those people should sit down. They should have to sit down with that woman and explain to her like their actions, and they should have to listen to her and whatever she has to say to them. And I think that there should be some type of series and some type of training, some type of something because you got to hit people where they feel. You got to hit people where their heart is, and I think that that's the only way we can get through these things.
Yeah, no, and I love that it like, could you imagine what's like? Because let's take it out of just sexual violence. Like, what if you were caught being not only an accomplice but a bystander for like even bullying? Because I'm thinking about
Mhm. Oh
high
yeah,
schools
yeah.
and middle schools. Imagine
Mhm.
that showing up on your record when you apply to colleges. Because, like you said, it speaks on your character. And like, of course, people make mistakes when they're young, but like some of these mistakes cause people to go crazy and
Yeah.
commit suicide or come back and contribute to a mass shooting.
Mhm.
And sometimes everyone is a part of it because no one said anything, no one did anything. So imagine someone filming that, put it and I think this sort of another conversation, but like we are so used to living in the world and in the social media world, and it says something that he was like, you know what, let me film this and go viral. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Or even if it was filming it to put the attention on this guy, like I'm living in this virtual reality, but
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
now something is tangible in my reality, in my physical real world reality that has repercussions on me. Like, and not to say that they should necessarily put something on someone's record, but it would be interesting. And I do wonder how like things would change, whether it was for sexual violence or bullying or other types of harms that people inflict on other folks, that other people just stand by and watch.
Yeah.
Like, fuck a bystander. You know what I'm saying?
Bump 'em.
Yeah. So we got to give y'all the biggest light roast, do better, and hopefully we do find ways to keep those people more accountable, right?
Mhm.
So speaking of keeping people accountable, there's been a lot of talks about vaccinations. A lot of places are mandating that people get vaccinated. If not, they can be put on things like unpaid leave. I know there's some policies in New York around that now. But we have some people sort of stepping up against that, like a Kyrie Irving, who's literally not getting vaccinated because he feels like it's unfair that people are losing their jobs or not being able to work because they haven't been vaccinated, right? Because they're not putting something in their bodies. Now, should people, be fired, be unpaid leave? Here's the thing, and it goes back to what you said, T. This is not, I don't look at, maybe the unpaid leave could be a lot, but I don't look at keeping you away from other people and saying you can't come into the workplace as a punishment for you, more than it's just a safety precaution for everybody else you could come in contact with. Like, you have the right as a person not to put anything in your body.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you're contagious, or you have decided not to take a vaccine that billions of people have taken, which tells you it's a cultural and societal norm at this point, that's fine. That's fine. But you can't expect everybody to be okay with you then being around them when millions upon millions upon millions of people have died over complications of this thing that you are not actively, protecting yourself from in that particular way. And so I look at it as not necessarily should people be punished, but like, should other people not be protected?
Yeah.
So I like I said, I don't know about getting fired and the unpaid leave, but like, you can't like it, I don't think I know too many people in my life who are not vaccinated, but I can't say that, like, they should be in proximity with people who not only might not want to catch the disease, but might not want to bring that virus around other people. Because guess what, T? I caught COVID from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? If I would have gone around a family member and would have given it to them, or a close friend, or even a stranger, and they would have died because they got it from me, even though I was vaccinated, like, can you imagine the guilt?
Yeah, bro.
And all the while, it's because I might have gotten it from someone who chose not to be vaccinated. And I think that's the scary part. So it's like, it's a tough thing. And I think there's nuance to it, but people have the right to want to feel safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this is going to be I get very, very wild comparisons, but like, if you have a pet lion and you want to take the pet lion everywhere, now we know lions kill. We know, or like COVID, they have the capability and the capacity to kill, right? As a grown man, I might survive a slight lion attack more than someone who's elderly, more than someone who already has a lot of health complications. I might be more likely to survive a lion attack. But like, you can't blame people for not letting you bring your lion places. You can't. It's hard. That's hard. You have a right to have the lion if you want the lion. If that's your pet, fine. But you're going to have it around people knowing the capability and the potential of that lion. Like, knowing that you ultimately can't control that lion if that lion wants to get out and interact with other people. Oh no. So that's sort of how I feel. T, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, on my end, I get it. I had this conversation with a coworker, and I don't know his vaccination status as of currently, but I know that he was pretty against it. Not saying that he was anti-vax, but he wasn't comfortable getting it.
Right.
So I sat there and listened to him to understand. But he was saying that essentially that businesses, and especially community organizations that maybe be functioning as nonprofits, but business in general, like if you're firing employees and you're taking their livelihood away because they're uncomfortable with a vaccination, that is unfair. And I think that that's kind of what Kyrie's getting at, but I don't know if I agree, because I think that that's working under the premise that they did not have time and they did not have resources to get the information that they need to make an informed decision. I think most businesses, like my organization, and I work in LAUSD. So I work at a nonprofit organization, but I work within LAUSD because I work in education. LAUSD is mandating all students, employees, and community members that are working inside the school be vaccinated. I knew that if I was not comfortable being vaccinated, I could not perform my duties. And I think that I can't say that it's unfair because I was let like I was they gave me this information ahead of time. Like
Right.
I was able to make the decision. I think I had at least it was mentioned maybe about 6 months, but I had at least a 3 to 4 month window to make the decision for myself. Though I was already vaccinated well ahead of time. I was vaccinated
Right.
at the end of March, y'all. So it wasn't hard for me, but I wanted to let him know that these things aren't like a shock. It's not like oh, you just sprung this on me now and I got to make a decision that's going to radically change my life. So I think when people are losing their jobs, they've had time to decide either if they were going to get the vaccine, what the research shows about the vaccine, like allowing like tests, like I mean, they do trials and things. I think some people are like, oh, well, I just need to see it for 3 months, and if people don't start growing ears and noses and other places, then I'll get it. So I think that there was enough time, and I think that that's really what it comes down to, because knowing the work that we do, like it's hard work. We're in these kids' faces, and we're in the faces of people that may not have the same information that we had. Like at my job, they brought in multiple people and had multiple conversations about COVID and the vaccination, and people that worked on the vaccination themselves, and what the vaccination does and what mRNA does, and like how it was created, and all we got all of that. So it's like when people say that like they need to do their own research, it's like, well, if a researcher is telling us this stuff and you have access to this, what more research can you do? So I think when it comes to, if people have had the proper resources and they had the proper time, then I don't think it has to be fair, because if not, it's really unfair to our students. It's really unfair to the people that we're engaging with in the community if we haven't been vaccinated, because I know that these people did not have those opportunities. Some people's parents may have gotten a high school education, and that's not knocking nobody, but I think that when somebody only has a high school education, the spaces that they occupy definitely aren't privileged enough to be getting the information that we're getting. And it's also not broken down in a way that people with only high school educations can understand accessibly all the time. And I'm not saying that people that don't have uh that only have a high school education are dumb by any means, but no, there are, like I'm very even conscious of it on our podcast and making sure that the language we use on this is accessible. I think that we always talk about breaking some words down. So I understand that there are barriers. There's a literal language barrier. So I can understand why people's parents will not be comfortable. So then if these students are under 18, they're not getting vaccinated. So it's like, if we are vaccinated, we can provide the services and not put anybody at harm, and also not put our family at harm, and not put ourselves in harm. So I think that it is very short-sighted. And I can't call it selfish per se, but I do say it is self-interested. But of course, it's your life. You should be self-interested. You only get one of these. So it's like, I want you to make the best decision for you, but I feel like I know what the best decision for you is. I can't make that for you, and nor will I bully you for it. But I do think that there is really only one right answer. But I do also want to say that there is a growing body of people, and it's a conversation that I've seen on Twitter and Instagram, and there are companies that are thinking about extending sick leave. So if someone is vaccinated and they get COVID, that they have extended sick leave. But those that are unvaccinated are essentially punished, and they won't get sick leave or anything like that. And I think that that becomes a labor rights issue, because I think if people are vaccinated and they are vying for non-vaccinated people to be not covered, I think that that is almost evil, personally, because it's like you're really punishing them by death, or like take
Mhm.
I think that that's different. Like if their job still allows them to be there, or they're working from remotely or something like that, and they get COVID. Because just like you said, like you've been vaccinated and you got COVID. So like it's not a for sure. And I think that is a company's benefit. I think that like we always have to be on the side of people, and like though your counterpart may be unvaccinated, I would never wish for any of my unvaccinated coworkers to be like whole in that way
Right.
at the job. And so I think that the one thing I pulled away from Kyrie's thing that was positive, because I'm very big on like shades of gray. Nothing is all bad. Nothing can always be all bad. And if you sat down and listened to his IG live, he made some points about just people being human to each other and not bullying each other and not thinking that somebody's a terrible person for not getting vaccinated. Because I think we've fallen into that. So I think that for me, it's just knowing that like people are still human and people are scared and people are unafraid, or people are afraid, and people are they don't have enough like perspective and knowledge. So I think that just sometimes we have to extend grace, and I think that that's what I really, if anybody's taking anything away from this conversation, is extend grace. I think that now when it comes to this job stuff, if you had the proper time, you probably should have looked for another job in the meantime. But when it comes to getting sick and different things like that, you shouldn't want to wish ill on people like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree. And yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like you can't blame people for not wanting to be around you. It is because my thing is I would caution all of the anti-vaxxers or people who are in the middle to think about it like this. What was the alternative if everyone didn't get vaccinations, right?
Mhm.
Like, if everyone was like, what, y'all can create this as a government, as your health experts, people who have dedicated their lives to studying diseases and things of that nature, but I don't want to take it, and I'm going to wait for everyone else to take it. And it's interesting because it's almost like you get to enjoy a life of being back outside, being able to do whatever you want to do because everybody else got vaccinated. But if
Mhm.
everybody else had the privilege of not securing themselves with the vaccine, everyone would still be inside on macro levels. And so for me, it's almost like you haven't even made the sacrifice to be outside.
Mm.
Like it just sort of feels like it feels weird to me because it's like I'm the one who took the risk, but you get to enjoy being
For things
outside
to open back.
with me.
I get that. I
You know
get
what I'm saying? Like I took the risk and I still got COVID and I'm still up here saying, get the vaccination shot. Like, but y'all get to share the outside space with me. But and I think it goes back to what you were saying. It's like, and that's how I was saying what I was saying in general about like the outside part, because it's like a lot of us knew this was coming. A lot of us knew this had to come.
Mhm.
These mandates and stuff had to come. What did you think that like you were going to be the one that didn't get to be vaccinated while all your coworkers had to, while all
Mhm.
your clients had to, while everybody else in the community had to? And my question becomes like, how do you get to enjoy the benefits of all of us being vaccinated? See,
Mhm.
if billions of people aren't vaccinated, no one's outside at all. At all.
That's true.
Everything's still closed. Businesses are still closed. Schools are still closed. UCLA's not back open. Like there,
But I will say that might be for the better. You know, I don't think that we should be out personally. I do think that
still should be out.
vaccine allows us to be out at a lower threshold. I think it is in capitalism best interest for us to be back outside, business as usual. But I think people should be vaccinated and in the house. That's just my
Yeah. Well, no, and that's something I can definitely rock with. But like in the sense of we happen to be outside now,
Mhm.
and like if you get to be outside, it's because there was a cultural shift for that a lot of people are said, you know what? I don't know. This vaccine hasn't been tested out as long as other vaccines, obviously, but it was made in very urgent conditions. We don't have the time to wait to see. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And it's not like it was produced in a day, obviously, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just like we're outside because, albeit we probably shouldn't be outside, and I think a lot of us still should be outside. I think these schools still shouldn't be open, but we are outside because of the risk that billions of people took. And for people not to take that risk is it almost feels like you're saying like your life is worth more than mine's, because you are still walking around with the capability to pass this stuff on.
And you're more likely to do that.
Yeah. So it's just like I had to risk, because I could have had an adverse reaction to the vaccine. My second shot wasn't the greatest, and yet I took that risk. But you feel like not only should you not get it and take that risk, but you should be able to enjoy the perks of everybody who did take that risk. And that's what I'm realizing, even in our conversation. I'm just like, this is being outside is a privilege, albeit maybe we shouldn't be. No, none of us should be outside, but like it's a privilege to be outside and to engage with people like we haven't been able to in a year. But like that doesn't happen if the majority of people aren't getting vaccinated. So it's like, what makes you so special that you don't have to do what I had to do to be outside?
That's a good question.
I don't know. It still rubs me the wrong way. I can understand why you don't put something in your body, but like I just don't see how you feel entitled to the same things. Because guess what, T? I'm gonna say this probably is not popular, but like there are jobs you can do remotely.
Absolutely.
I do my jobs remotely, and like, do you deserve to be outside with everybody when you like, do you?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the people that aren't into getting vaccinated are still into being outside and being in these very public spaces. Like I think like I had a teacher last year that was heavily anti-vax, but he was also heavily in the house. And he said he only left the house for very few things and was double masked up. And it's like that. He was a hotel, but I could respect it, like because the principle was consistent. He was like, I'm not gonna get my family sick, but I don't trust this vaccine because I don't trust how medicine has treated Black people. So the only way to keep them protected, we're gonna be in the house. I said, hey, bet. Like, I respect that.
Right. Yeah. So it's just like, like, would you want someone driving? Because it's like a lot of us who drive, I'm sure you have your license. I have my license. Should you be able to drive if you don't have your license? Should you be able to enjoy the perks of being a driver? Like, I want to get a motorcycle. I wouldn't love to drive a bus. I'd love to drive a plane. You know what I'm saying? I'd love to be a pilot on a ship but like, should I be trusted to do that when I haven't gone through the measures that these other people have gone through to be able to?
Yeah. And let's even say, like, I think that we can make insurance is the analogy too, right? It's like, yeah, you might be on the road, but like you're not insured. So if you hit somebody else, like that caused, like I got hit by somebody with terrible insurance and it caused so much problems for me. And it's like it becomes a ripple effect because that person didn't have insurance.
Right. That's a much better analogy, actually. Let's go with that one. But yes, I think it's an evolving conversation. And like I said, look, I got good friends who are anti-vax right now. And it's cool. I disagree, but it's cool. But when it comes to privileges and rights and stuff like that, I can't. I think people deserve human rights, basic human rights. You shouldn't be homeless. You should not be able to have food. To your point, you should not be able to have healthcare coverage and insurance and stuff like that. And a matter of fact, your ass is probably going to need it more, to be honest, unfortunately. But in terms of frivolous things, should you be able to go to the park?
I get that.
You
You
know what
should
I'm saying?
be comfortable.
Right. Like, should you be able to go to like the Lakers played the Warriors the other night? Like, should you be able to go through that when thousands of people besides you have gotten vaccinated? Like, do you have that right? And when it comes to working, hey, like, and I will say that, people are coming at Kyrie when like the NYPD is also, a lot of them are also not vaccinated, even though a lot of them are dying from COVID, which is a whole nother thing. But it's just like, when you're interacting with people, that's a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Being around human beings might not seem like it all the time, but that's a privilege. And so, should you get to indulge in that? And I think that is a major question that we got to solve. So, please stay safe, y'all. But I don't know, man. I think that it's like you said, it's all a shade of gray.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but like we said, it's still all love to everyone. Keep doing your research, and we'll just sort of take it from there. But one person who does deserve to celebrate, who does deserve to be in community, who does deserve to interact with people, especially her awesome daughter, is Candace Parker, the newest WNBA champion with the Chicago Skies.
Let's go.
Hey. Shout out to her, because you might be the only basketball championship that Chicago sees for a long time. I said it. I said it. I said it, and I stand by it. So, I think Chicago, everyone should be in the WNBA, but Chicago, y'all better get on y'all's knees and thank whoever you believe in, because Candace Parker just, I know y'all hadn't seen a basketball championship since Michael. Haven't even sniffed it, I don't really think. So shout out to Candace Parker. Shout out to the whole team of the Chicago Skies. They are our spotlight, and our spotlight is when we give credit and love to someone or something that's done something great in the community. And you know what? She has revitalized the Chicago basketball fan world of sports, and she's continue to put a spotlight on the WNBA. So today was a good day or that day that she won was a good day for her.
Absolutely. Like, y'all support the WNBA. I swear it's hot, it's popping. I was watching the Las Vegas Aces play the Phoenix Mercury, and dog, that game came down to the end. You had 2 6'8" women, Brittany Griner and Liz Cambage, going at it. Brittany Griner got a block to win the game. Like, it was lit. It was lit. And I see constant disrespect of the sport. There was a picture of the finals MVP, Kalea Cooper. Like, it was a hard sports photo. And that's essentially what Bleacher Report posted. Like, oh, this is gonna be one of the great sports photos. And they was like, send her back to the kitchen. Don't nobody care. This isn't a real sport. And it's so crazy, because it's like, if y'all walked on the court with these women, y'all would get dogged. Walking like a dog, walking like a dog. You feel me? Like, y'all couldn't hang, because these people do this professionally year round. You couldn't even run on the court with them doing pickup. That's the other thing. Like, these women not only play their season, but then they go and usually play overseas. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox right there so I can spotlight my girl Candace Parker. I had a crush on her growing up. I remember 8th grade, because I watched ESPN, like top 10 highlights and just the highlights in general every morning while I was getting ready for school. And that was the first woman I ever seen dunk. I thought it was the coldest thing ever. She was a 2-time college, like a college championship winner. She was the rookie of the year. Last year, I think she was the defensive player of the year in the WNBA, 2 times WNBA MVP, 2-time now WNBA champion. So I just put some respect on that girl name. And she was commentating on
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Giving phenomenal analysis. So my girl can do it all. Put some respect on her name. And shout out to the Chicago Sky, because they was under. They was definitely the underdogs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, so shout out to Candace Parker. Shout out to the WNBA. And yeah, there's definitely a lot more to say about the disrespect that like people throw on the WNBA, but you know what? We'll save that for another episode because, like you said, right now it's just all about celebrating not only Candace Parker and the Chicago Skies, but just the awesome women who contribute to that sport and put so much of their own lives on the line and make so many sacrifices in that field. So yeah, shout out to them. And look, T, that's it, man. That's all I got, bro. That was good. That was good.
It was a great conversation, bro. A great conversation. I hope the Brewers rock with it. But like we like to say, keep the coffee
black.
And we like our podcast like we like our women.
Black.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with us, and we will see y'all soon. Peace.